Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to this here live right there. As you can see, I am planning to have a hiking partner reveal, and that person is sharing a screen with me. We're just excited to answer your questions. Big reveal. Dun, dun, dun. We're gonna do a little roll in. So will my wonderful future hiking partner just roll on in and reveal it's Little Chap. So yeah, this is my amazing hiking partner, and I'm so excited that Little Chap and I will be hiking. This has been a long process for sure. It took forever, right?
There was
decided
some road bumps in the road for sure.
some
For
big
me more than you.
Yeah. So ultimately, we started talking just about hiking the PCT in general, not with each other, just like, would we want to hike the PCT? Because I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. When I decided to hike the AT, I had actually not really any desire to hike the PCT. And then it kind of grew as I was hiking the AT that maybe I would want to do the PCT. And then, of course, after the AT, being, missing the AT and being a little bit depressed, not being on trail, the idea of hiking the PCT just really build up, and we just started talking with each other. And then what happened?
Well, it kind of went back to before the Tahoe Rim.
Oh yeah, right.
So because I had gone back to work in December of 22. And then we were planning to do the Tahoe Rim together. Oh, you're drinking.
Yes.
My day has not been such that I can be drinking.
I haven't had any alcohol for at least a half a year, but I thought for this here occasion right there.
The Twisted Tea was your pack out of town drink, wasn't it?
It was it Twisted Tea? Was one of them. Twisted Tea was one of them.
Yeah, I think you did that for a bit.
Yeah.
Well, or Mike's Hard Lemonade. Maybe that's what it was. I think that's what it was.
Wow! Thanks, Jen, for the money. Did you see $50? That's for me and Little Chap.
She said it's for you to buy Little Chap chicken nuggets, is what it says.
No, remember how there's a McDonald's right on trail, or kind of not far from it? So we'll spend those $50 there for sure.
I don't remember where that is though. It's somewhere in the desert.
It is somewhere in the desert, yeah. So anyway, we were
talking about the Tahoe Rim, and then when I went back to work, it was in St. Louis, but then I ended up going to Louisville, Kentucky in March. And once I got there, I was not able to take the time off that we had planned, so you went without me.
Yeah.
And I was dying watching all your videos and knowing you were there. And we were talking a lot for a while about, well, when could we hike the PCT? We kind of talked about maybe we do it together, but it was 2025, 2026, or at some point. And then after a little bit, I was just not happy being in Louisville and being away from all my family and friends and everybody at home. And I started getting a little bit less hard on my stance of, no, I have to work for a while. And then, the things just unfolded. Since then, I know in October, we put in for permits together, and we had picked a date, and it was like, well, if we get that date in the November drawing, then it's just fate. It's meant to be.
Because it was one of those dates that's like hard to get.
Yeah.
And we were just like, if we get the date, then it's just meant to be.
Once we got the date, and we were shocked by that, and I was still not sure about quitting work. And then once I decided yes, and this is Roadrunner was not intentionally trying to prolong the announcement of who she's hiking with.
No.
I had planned to be done working a little sooner and to be able to spend some more time at home before I went. And right after we got the permit, a couple weeks after, like, everything started going haywire for me.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, like, even once we even decided, and I booked my flight to San Diego.
Yeah.
They they changed my flight.
I know. It was
And
the
that
same day. You had 2 or 3 things happen the same day. Do you remember?
yeah. Yeah, I had some not good results on some lab work, and I went to the lab 4 times in 6 weeks. All is good though, everything is fine, on that now, but I thought I'd possibly had kidney disease for a month. Come to find out it was nothing.
Yeah.
My flight got canceled, and there's no more direct flights on the day I needed to fly. So now I've got a connecting flight where I have to switch planes, and it's only an hour. But I didn't want to change to another day because we have plans to meet at the airport in San Diego, and we already have our rides arranged to the trail. So we'll just see how that goes. Anyway, so now we're here. We got all the stuff that wasn't going great is smoothed itself out, and now we're down to not having a whole lot of days before time to head out.
Yeah, well, we're trying not to zero hero. Chap and I just had a conversation.
Hey, do you want to answer? I don't know, it's hard to keep track of these questions.
Yeah, like, so I have here on my computer some questions, so I can look at those, but I'm also gonna look at the questions from my community poll that I put down 4 weeks ago, where people asked some like pretty good questions. But let me just look at any that are currently. So Mark, who's actually one of my amazing patrons, said Chap couldn't get off for the TRT. How did you manage to get off for this one?
I quit.
Yeah.
I'm a random homeless man, remember?
Yeah. So yeah, Chap actually decided to quit his career. So
Yeah.
pretty amazing. Like,
I'll have to start something new after. I was kind of ready for a change anyway. I think I probably was ready after the AT, but I was drawn to what I knew in a paycheck. So
somebody's asking what's the start date. We don't reveal the start date. Just honestly, I was kind of not sure if I should reveal it since I have little Chap with me. I'm not really that scared when he's near me.
hold
But
on,
I
you're
don't.
supposed to be protecting me.
That's the other. Yeah, see, that's the thing. So we definitely can't reveal the start date. Was little Chap his trail name on the AT? Yes. Do you want to tell them how you got your name?
No, it's a dumb origin, but it's become probably the version of me that I like the most. So the name stayed.
The money shot is asking, so will both be vlogging and how often for each?
Yes, I will be. I don't know how often. I'm probably not going to do daily vlogs just because I don't know. I think the internet situation is probably not going to be nearly as good on the PCT as the AT as far as getting high speed in towns to upload. So I don't know. I will probably label mine as episodes and do them as I can. Hopefully, on the AT, I did every 2 days. I released a video.
Mhm.
I would like to do something similar, but I'm just going to wait and see how the internet is and how long it takes to upload and things like that. But hopefully, at least weekly, but probably every couple days if I can swing it.
Yeah, my plan is to do daily, and that's another reason why I don't reveal my our start date, because I want to give us like 1 or 2 weeks, and then if I have 1 or 2 weeks as like a buffer, that allows me to do daily vlogs if I can't upload them immediately. So that way people aren't like worried, like, why have you not posted in like 5 days just because I don't have connection? So I'd rather just have the buffer right away. It's probably less for the safety now that I have a hiking partner, and more so to have a buffer so people don't get worried and start sending rangers and stuff. So UDAC is asking, will you two keep your trail names? Any possibility that others will give you new trail names? I'm planning to keep my trail name. I like it.
Yeah, I think that there are some people that like try to do different names for different trails, but I don't know none of my hiking friends have done that. Pretty
Yeah.
much, I think once you have a name, it's like your name at birth. It's who you are.
Yeah.
I don't believe Roadrunner and I have ever called each other, not even once, by our government names.
Correct.
It would be weird.
Yeah.
have to. I don't know. No,
Brent Fong is asking, would each of you do the hike if the other wasn't able to?
I definitely want to do the PCT, and I know that Roadrunner did as well. I think it was easier to say, let's do it now, knowing that we could do it together.
Yeah.
So I will still do. I would have still done it without her.
Yeah.
But it just the thing we hiked together on the AT for about I think 500 miles early on, and then again we were around each other through like New Hampshire and southern Maine. But the way things played out, we didn't hike any more than that together. But we plan and think a lot alike when it comes to trails. We probably both would have been better off if we would have
Stuck
stayed
to each
together
other.
longer on the AT.
Yeah. Well, we hike so similarly. Like we're both faster on the uphill. We're both slower on the downhill because we both worry about our knees and just slipping and sliding. We are around the same age, so that's probably why. And we think very much, we're very like logical people, but we also are planners, but also sometimes can play it by ear. So I find it's very easy to plan and hike along each other. So I mean that's my opinion. That's why
Yeah.
I'm happy that it's gonna be you. But I also was going to hike it without Chap, but the thing is the fact that he can come along and that we can join together is just such a benefit because we are, we have that connection, we have that similar way of hiking, but also the PCT does have some dangerous areas that I
My
wouldn't
mom's watching. Be careful.
like on the AT, I wouldn't be that worried, and on PCT, maybe a little bit more. And so to have somebody with you is just, I don't know, like it's just perfect. Like to make sure that we have somebody that we trust, and I trust Chap. Like so.
Yeah, some of the stuff we're gonna have to do, especially with the Sierra, the higher elevation passes, the snow, the water crossings, and things
Yeah.
like that. I think it gives peace of mind to knowing you have a partner.
Do you have plans if one is injured or sick?
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
We talked about it, so yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Well, actually, we talked about it months ago as
Yeah.
well. But if it's something that's going to be quick, a couple days, or if we're just ill, of course we're going to wait. If I break a leg and I'm going to be off trail for 3 months, I have no expectations that Roadrunner's going to wait. But our plan is to start and finish the trail together unless something takes us off trail.
What are your plans for town Nero 0 days as needed for emergencies only? No more than one night for Neros versus zeros. We actually just talked about that today, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we don't want to be the same zero heroes as on the Appalachian Trail. So we personally don't want to take the same amount of zeros, but we do understand that at the beginning of the trail there are a lot of towns that are iconic, and so we do want to enjoy those towns as long as they are there at the beginning, and we know further down the trail or further up the trail there will be less hostels, less friendly hiker towns. And so we will probably reduce our zeros maybe the further we go up north. And also, we are considering doing more Neros than zeros just because a zero involves two hotel stays or two hostel stays, like to pay for two nights. And so we hope to try to reduce that when we need to do hotels. But for hostels, we're a little bit more open to doing like a zero. Do both of you need to complete the hike by a certain date, or do you have a more flexible schedule than before? I don't have a date. Do you have a date?
I don't have a date other than the one that's our ending date on our permit.
Have y'all followed other YouTubers that did the PCT as somewhat part of your research? If so, who? Have you followed anybody?
The only ones I've actually followed last year were the Codgers. I think they made pretty decent videos. And
Yeah.
as far as like, we're not as old as the Codgers, but we're kind of Codgers compared to the normal age on the long trails.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find PCT vloggers that do daily or near daily vlogs that at least, I don't know. There's a few others. I think, I've watched some of Ash O'Brien's videos. I think she hiked in the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
I like her.
Um,
I actually started watching hers when she was just starting and her pack got lost. Did you see at the beginning? She didn't have her pack.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, and then and then she got COVID. The same, like it was kind of like she had everything happened to her, and but she got on trail, which was great. So yeah, I mean, like, no, I don't. I watched maybe one or two videos of the Codgers. I watched some of Ash's. Who else did I watch? I watched the Dixie, the movie from Dixie from Homemade Wanderlust, but that was a long time ago. And
What's the
and
girl?
there's this lady that I would watch. What is her name? Tracy.
Tiki Bird Tracy.
Tiki Bird Tracy, right. I was watching her because I thought she was pretty informative and kind of like pretty honest. I mean, she didn't end up through hiking, but I know she attempted like 3-4 times. So, but I watched some of hers. I don't know. Yeah, not that many people to watch to prepare. Okay, how many miles will you do a day?
We're gonna do 40 a day. Starting out, we're gonna finish this sucker quick. No.
Gonna be done in like 3 months, 2 months.
Now we're gonna start lower, and then I think most people on the PCT end up mid to high 20s. You know, the PCT is graded differently than the AT. So I would suspect we'll start. A lot of it's going to depend on campsites and what water sources and things like that, because we have to carry a lot more water. But I think we'll be starting off trying for the first week or so more like 12 to 15, and then we'll be working our way up, and hopefully pretty quickly be doing mostly 20 plus.
Rodney's asking, why did you pick the PCT? I think I picked the PCT because it was next in line in a way. I'm not really considering the CDT because of grizzly bears, and so the PCT was pretty much the next in line. What is the temperature rating of your quilts? Mine is 10 degrees. What's yours?
Same one I used on the AT. Well, I swapped out for a summer quilt, but
do we both have the Enlightened Equipment Revelation, or which one do you have?
No, I have my winter quilt's an Enigma, and then my summer quilt I have a 40-degree synthetic Revelation. I don't know if we skipped it, but there's a question here about what if there are fires. Coincidentally, the name of the person that wrote that was A. Byrne. So A. Byrne wants to know about the burn zones.
You would notice that too. Oh my gosh. If there are fires, so as a purist, right? What does a purist mean? A purist is somebody who hikes all the miles, footpath, like a continuous footpath. And as long as you hike the miles that you are allowed to hike. So if there's a fire, you're obviously, and there's a fire closure, you're not going to be allowed to hike those. So therefore, you just skip the fire section and go to the next spot. And I believe you're still considered a through hiker because you weren't legally allowed to hike those miles. And you can come back later to finish them and still be considered a through hiker, as I understand.
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. Hammer Hikes is saying, are there any specific town stops you guys are super excited for? Idlewild, Julian, and Stehekin.
Yeah, for sure, Idlewild. For those of you that don't know, Idlewild's mayor is a dog.
Yeah.
So you get to you meet the mayor and have your picture taken with the mayor.
I know.
Kennedy Meadows, I think, is going to be pretty awesome, just because it kind of the symbolism of ending the desert and starting the Sierra.
Yeah.
And I believe it's tradition when people walk into Kennedy Meadows, everybody that's there claps for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen lots of vlogs where that's happening, or not the vlogs, like the one time the movies. The one thing, it's not a town hammer, but I don't know if you've seen this yet. They just announced that Bernie Falls is going to be closed this year, which I am like, really upset about because that's like the one thing like on the AT, it's like McAfee Knob, like the one thing that you look forward to this most photographed thing. I think
Yeah, that's true.
Burn, and I think it's Bernie Falls. I think that's new. That's kind of like what that is for the PCT, at least in my mind.
Yeah.
But it's closed due to too much foot traffic, and they had to do some trail maintenance. I'm hoping that it's just like the parking lot for the day hikers that is closed, and maybe
Mm.
there's like a. I'm not saying we're going to do anything we're not supposed to, but maybe through hikers still get to go through there. I don't know. It's just a hope.
Got any ground rules for negotiation when necessary?
Yeah, Roadrunner's always right.
That's like a dance rule. The lady's always right. Um,
I'm
I
glad we're
think
not dancing.
I think there's not really any ground rules besides the obvious that has to happen in order for a successful partnership is that we need to communicate. If something doesn't like if we don't like something, we need to communicate it instead of um, carrying it inside of us because it's very easy to be upset and not communicate and just harbor that inside and then get upset and create resentment. And for me, that's one of the most important things. I want to start this journey with him being my friend, and I want to end this journey with him being my friend. And that's my priority. And in order for that to happen, I have to always communicate with him, and I expect him to communicate with me if he doesn't like something that I'm doing. So,
Yeah, I won't give details because it impacts other people. But there was a situation on the AT where like things we were not everybody around were not happy about some things, and
yeah.
I know you remember too. There was one day we had a very distinct um, discussion. It was all like, "Hey, we don't like where this is going," and I know that we've had others about all of this trip as well, but I know that you and I can have very real conversations and be candid with one another, and there's no I don't know. I don't think there's any thoughts of like, okay, fine, for when we don't get along, we're gonna go different directions or any of that. Like,
No,
I
no,
think we both have
because
talked a lot about the priorities of trying to stay together.
yes,
Um, at least until we get away from the bears, because right now I'm her bear plan, being slower than her. So
he's my bear plan. You have to stay at least until Washington Cascades, right? So, Nam, who's also one of my amazing patrons, little chap, what is your recommendation for a hat that is well ventilated and also good for sun protection?
well, I don't know if it's a good recommendation because I haven't really used it, but I bought an outdoor research hat that's like really light, and it has I don't know what it's called. It's like a piece of material that clips on the bill. It basically covers everything except the middle of your face. It's a very lightweight, well ventilated hat. Um, and I'm going to definitely wear that hat. I don't know if I'm going to take the piece that goes around the head because I feel like that's probably what the sun hoodie is going to do. So I don't know. It was one I got on clearance at REI. It's just whatever the outdoor research sun hat, or I don't know what it's called.
The money shot is asking go to shoes for the hike. My go-to shoes are the Salomon Speed Cross.
I wear Hoka Challengers, but I'm gonna preface that by don't think that because shoes work for us, they're gonna work for you. Shoes are so individualized. Somebody was asking if we're using bear cans or bear bags.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is bear bags, and other than where we have to use bear cans through the Sierra.
Yeah. Somebody said from the community tab, if you both are hiking and camping, are you two going to have your own space in town so to keep the tension down?
Where's this tension coming from?
Well, I mean, you have to be fair. Like, if somebody spends every single minute with each other,
Yeah.
we do start getting on each other's nerves. And I think typically what we do or what we did before is we would just hike by ourselves for the day.
Mm-hmm.
that's usually how I would try to get away from some of the tension.
Well, then also I think you and I have both done this at different times when we were around other groups. Is like I try to go to my tent at some point, like instead of sitting up with everybody. That if you there's a few people that need to be blocked on here.
I did.
Okay, there's still
Mhm.
another one popping up.
Which oh,
So anyway, the you get time in the night after you do your dinner and whatnot at camp. Like I'm not a movie watch. Some people watch movies and that on their phone. I don't ever do that. But I like to just listen to music and lay in my tent with some earbuds in for a little bit to kind of decompress. Sometimes, I mean, you think you don't need to decompress from hiking all day, but it gets to be hard work. But I
mhm.
think you also kind of get that alone time in the evenings as well, especially early on when it's getting darker earlier.
So you just listen to things when you have tension?
I'm not necessarily listen to things, but I'm saying as far as just you have time alone in the
Yeah.
evenings usually, like after dinner and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I also tended to edit a lot of my videos when I could in my tent at night, so things were ready to
Right.
upload when I got to town.
Yeah. But yeah, I think in general, I mean, tension, I think just communicating with each other, like we can hike during the day separate to kind of get away from each other. Not that we need to, but I think because I remember one day I was like, I'm just gonna hike by myself, and it ended up being like 20 some miles. It was just before McAfee Knob. We hiked like I don't know. And I remember I was you remember that night, right? Yeah, that's why you're laughing. Anyway, and I just remember at the end of the day, I was all by myself, and at the end of the day, I was so happy to see little chap, and I was like, "That's what I need. I just need to like maybe hike by myself, and then just see him at night, or see friends at night."
So after, without getting too much into stuff, after trail days, I
Mhm.
had suggested that we all, because we were all the group of 5 of us at the time, were planning everything together, and pretty much there was no freedom of where you stop at night or anything because it was all predetermined. Like this is where we're going to meet this night or whatever. So I
Mhm.
had suggested, hey, when we get back on trail, we have like 2 days into Daleville. Why don't we all just meet in Daleville and kind of have a little bit of alone time? Because I think Roadrunner and I are both more introverts than some people on trail. And Roadrunner agreed and wanted the same thing. I think some of the people in the group maybe were not as happy about that. But we were like, well, hey, if we all end up at the same spot to camp, great. I just didn't want to like be committed to I had to stop at a certain place every day. So Roadrunner and I ended up at the same place every day anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so it was interesting going into that right after trail days. It was like we were in a totally different bubble of people, and we didn't know anybody at the shelter. And I remember when I walked in, you were like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad you're here." I don't know any of these people. It was just a totally different thing, like a whole different group of people and a different vibe than
Yeah.
like the kind of bubble we had been in.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of dwindling down on questions. Thank you so much for joining us on this here Sunday live chat. We've got around, on average, around 120 to 130 people watching. That was pretty amazing because I think that's the most I've ever had. So, pretty cool. And I'll make sure to treat little chap real good for that McDonald's with the from Jen. And so thank you so much for everything, guys. Okay, so let's say good night so y'all can watch Chap's announcement video because it went live like 5
Oh, it
minutes.
sure did, yeah.
Sure.
If you're not there, it's LIL''CHAP space hikes.
Lil, Lil,
Lil, because I'm
Lil,
gangsta.
Lil Chap hikes.
All right, good night.
Okay. Good night.
All right, bye.
Bye.